You are listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast.
The Morrigan. The Morrigan. The Morrigan! Great Queen! Protect our lands and our families. Set the ways of fate in our favor as we prepare ourselves for war!
We were on our way to the Abbey when we heard it. Started with a low moan, and the shrill keening like winter in the barn rafters. Dahl said it could have been the wind, but the trees were still as stone. Mo knew. The trickle of tears down her face said it. The Banshee was telling us. Our good Lord was drinking whiskey with Granny in paradise.
Listen now, laddie. When you've grown and have a farm of your own, you must remember every harvest to leave a few of the stock of the crop for the púca. If you don't, you may find that you're in for one wild ride.
Welcome, everyone, back to another episode of Cult of Lore. I'm Ben.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Jerry.
And we're doing Irish mythology because it's St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah! So this is our second Irish mythology episode.
This is one of our rare part twos.
Yeah. So we'll link the first one in the description. In that one, we covered changelings, the Dagda, and Cuchulainn. So that was fun. And we were excited to do more last year. So here we are.
And we have a theme.
Yes. We're thematic this time.
The Fae.
We're all fairies today.
Yay!
Fairies for days.
Happy thoughts.
Not touching that one. So, yeah, we were looking at all the different, Irish mythologies, and I think it just kind of lined up where we're like, okay, Fae is a really large category in Irish mythology.
Yeah, I made a list, and it's just 2 pages.
Yeah.
Christ.
Thank goodness for Jerry's list. That saved my tokus.
So I think the way this kind of started out, Eric, you were looking at covering.
I was kind of torn between like fairy rings, those fairy circles that occur in nature because they've got some stuff in there, and leprechauns.
I think it was leprechauns, and we started just kind of talking about it, and we realized just how like expansive and different the Fae world in Celtic mythology is compared to what a more Western, even though Irish and Celtic is considered to be Western, but like a more Americanized or modernized version of what Fae is.
Yes.
And that just led into this big hold like, well, Jesus, there's no way we're not going to be able to do just a Fae episode.
Seriously. Like we'd probably do one accidentally if we tried, to be honest, because they range from things like they could be just nature spirits or gods or the dead. Like they just have such this broad umbrella.
Yeah.
You know what they remind me of is the Jotun from Nordic mythology.
I have also had that thought before. Yeah, yeah.
Where they're just like this magical race that's out there, and it's like, yes, all of it.
Yeah, they are that. Like, they weren't bad enough to go to hell.
Right.
But they weren't good enough to be in heaven. They were just like mischievous in the middle, and so it's all those like folklore creatures just right in the middle.
They just ended up there. Yeah, and it's hard to classify them, so you just call them, giants, or in this case, fairies, and well, there it is.
I think one of the things that kind of speaks to is just how primitive, maybe is the word I'm looking for. I think that as we became more advanced in religious thinking, the ideals of it actually got simpler.
Like more refined in a way. More
refined, but also it became much more good, evil.
Oh,
good, bad.
Right. I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the early ones were more like, please don't hurt me, I'll do this. I will make this sacrifice or this, do this weird dance. And then
so I have noticed that in like the Babylonian and stuff like that. But like in the Celtic and like the Nordic stuff, the more naturey, and we haven't done like Native American stuff, although I would be very interested if that holds true as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because they seem to be a more nature-centered religion or belief system, they seem to embrace that good and bad of both.
Yeah.
Where they revere and
fear.
Fear at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is very, I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that's gotten lost in modern time. I keep moving away from the mic like an amateur.
Like an amateur. What are you, some kind of amateur? Like you haven't been podcasting for 3 years or so?
Apparently today I am. Anyway, so I picked the Morrigan.
Yeah.
Eric, you picked...
I picked the púca.
That used to be a stripper name. And Jerry, you picked...
the Banshee.
The Banshee. Let's lead with the Banshee. I like them. Everybody likes the Banshee. And I'll go after that. And Eric, you close us out. Because the reason why I say I'll go after Jerry is the Morrigan actually has some questionable ties to the Banshee.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Neat.
Interested to see where that goes.
Yeah.
But anyway, lead us away, Jerry.
All right. So the Banshee, actually learning about this really surprised me because there were things that I had always had this idea of what a Banshee was from like Darby O'Gill and the Little People and other stuff that I had watched during St. Patrick's Day Disney times and stuff.
Yeah,
so Jerry has been sending gifts of the Little People movie.
That was actually the whole movie. It's free on YouTube.
Oh my God.
You could watch it.
Oh, nice. Hey, there you go.
And you have no idea what you've done to Bailey. She's just been like, we need to watch this. I love that movie. I mean, is it Darby O'Gill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
The last time I have seen that movie, I was maybe 7.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely a child. Yeah. Very long time since I've seen it.
But Sean Connery in there.
Oh my God.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
But
I'm going to watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, we probably will too. Well, we'll save it for St. Patrick's Day, by God.
All right. Yeah.
While you're listening to this, we'll be watching that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, carry on.
So I was scared of the Banshee because I was like, oh, this thing is a terrifying monster kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's actually like a benevolent spirit. It's not there to hurt anybody. It's just, it shows up and it tells you that someone's going to be dying.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you view death, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it can kind of warn you that something bad's going to happen.
Right.
Doc!
It's letting you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doc, or just, ready your heart for some grief.
Yeah, its duty is to foretell that there's the coming of death in someone in your family.
So they're not bringers of death in some way. Like I know in fiction, it kind of ends up being like, oh, you hear the scream of the Banshee, so now you're dead.
It's not
like that.
The scream itself is not lethal.
Right. No.
Yeah. I mean,
although
I
bet it could be
and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh.
So if it can shatter glass, it can kill you.
Yeah, it does have like some terrifying aspects.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that is not its purpose.
Yeah.
Just like if you die from an allergic reaction from the skunk wasn't trying to kill you.
Right.
Yeah. And it's got like specific rules.
Okay.
So like the Banshee it'll stick to certain families.
Yeah. Yes. They
have to be of like pure Irish descent.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm trying to think. Did you write any of them down by any chance?
Yes. If their last name starts with O, like O'Malley or
O'Reilly, O'Brien.
Mc, like MC,
mm-hmm.
the prefix MC.
The mix.
Yeah. Like McDougal or something.
McDougal.
And the Mac. So MAC.
Oh,
If your last name starts with those, you may have a Banshee attached to your family.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because there was a lot of like Saxons and Normans and Norse people moving into the into Ireland, but like the Banshee was just there to like help the pure Irish people.
Okay.
So that's kind of neat.
It's like she's looking out for that whole that family line.
Yeah.
She's like not quite a guardian spirit, but.
So, I have some things to say about that.
Oh, great. Okay.
Ooh.
But it'll wait. There's a lot of like I'm being kind of quiet here because I'm like.
Oh, did you get different stuff?
No. So the Morrigan definitely has. There is an argument to be made that the Banshee might have been like a lesser Morrigan, for lack of a better term, without giving away half my pitch.
Ah.
So there's a lot of. We're gonna come back to a lot of similarities about like guardianship and.
Cool.
Okay.
The cry and the dead and things like that.
Right on.
There's when I get there, you'll realize why I'm being quiet.
Ooh. I did find one exception to that rule. If there was like some people that were gifted with music and song, and they had a Banshee attached to them, so that's one. It's like a side thing.
Oh, so they're not related. They're
they were like described as being like very Irish through their like talent.
Oh, okay.
And so they had received a Banshee.
Nice, interesting.
Oh, well, you can earn one.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird thing through being good at like poetry and music and song.
You've got the spirit of
Yeah.
You got the spirit of the Ireland in you.
There's a lot of bands that are named after Banshees.
Oh, yeah,
really?
Like in almost every genre of music almost.
Huh.
And they're all like different bands, but they're all called Banshee.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I never really thought about an association with the Banshees and music. So that's a new thing.
I think
for
it's
me.
because of the wailing and the moaning, which they do.
Yeah.
Which is what they do when they know someone's going to die. They end up wailing and they do like a keening.
Keening. That's the word.
I was going to say, I came across some things where they think that they might have actually been keeners that died and then became banshees in the afterlife.
That could be the origin of them, because back in the day, when you would have a funeral, you would hire a keening woman.
Yeah.
And she would come and she would, do this sort of like almost rhythmic song that like kind of goes back and forth, and she would do like wailing and
ritualistic
mourning.
Basically.
This was so that the to set the vibe of the funeral, and so that big emotion of like grief and stuff was on that person, and your family could kind of keep their like reserved status and stuff.
Oh, because she's basically doing it on behalf of the family. Is kind of what that sounds like.
Yeah, and this was a tradition for like a really long time.
Right.
So the Banshee usually takes the form of a mourning young woman or like an old lady.
Okay.
And so she can be either way. And she's usually wearing like white or like green with like white over top. And her hair is really long. And she's always combing it with a silver or gold comb.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had never heard that.
No, not once.
Yeah. And her eyes are red from like the weeping.
Puffy red from the crying.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. She can be unusually tall. It's usually if she's in the form of like a young woman, she can be like almost very large and like wraith-like.
Tall and imposing.
But she could also be like 1 to 4 foot tall. Oh, and that's when she's like in the form of like an older woman. So she's like all small and like.
Can you imagine a 1 foot tall Banshee? You're gonna die.
Like, did I close that window?
Get out of here.
Oh no, Grandma's dead.
Oh no.
I rolled over on her. Fuck. Dog sat on her.
Just a 1 foot tall little granny lady.
Dare me.
Wailing.
That reminds me, there is an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer where it's a Halloween episode, and there's this Halloween demon that's like getting like the big story is like it's preparing to like enter our realm and it's going to cause chaos and everything, and it's causing all this ridiculous shit to happen, and then at the end it actually arrives and it's like 3 inches tall.
Oh my god.
And they finally notice in the book, where the picture is. Giles didn't actually read like the fine print, and it says actual size.
It's to scale.
So they just step on it and get rid of it.
Wild. Oh my gosh.
That is gold.
So that just reminded me of that.
You just hear this dreadful banshee wailing, and you look outside, and it's just this little tiny old lady.
Like a gnome.
Yeah.
She's like, somebody's gonna die.
I want to see that skin on Smite. Let's see that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there we go. Jeez. Little old lady banshee.
1 foot tall.
Multiple banshees can show up if the person that's going to die is like great or like holy.
Okay, so what do you call a flock of banshees?
Ooh.
Banshee.
Banshees?
Banshees?
Bitches?
Oh.
Banshire?
Banshire.
Let us know in the comment section what you guys would call a flock of banshees. Are they a flock?
Are they a flock?
A murder?
Yeah. A keening? Instead of murder, is it a keen?
Oh, I like
a
that.
keening?
Yeah.
I think they're a gaggle.
A gaggle.
gaggle.
A gaggle of banshees.
Oh yeah, they are. They're fairies. They're not humans.
Right.
They are fairies.
They describing them as a ghost is like not extremely accurate. Although
Right.
it is said that the banshee of your family may be like a
ancestor.
younger woman that has died and has now become the fairy banshee of your family.
Okay. Okay.
Or they could have died during
God.
childbirth or
Yeah, that's not the first time. Like with the púca too, there's at least one story where it's kind of like, oh yeah, I used to be a human, then I died, and now I'm this. You know, so it's weird that again you see that overlap between ghosts and fairies somewhere in there. Yeah,
and in the Fae, like time moves differently. So
yep.
So if you're like in that land of eternal youth like that, you
Just
be
don't
eternal.
age. Yeah.
Supernatural to ruin this whole topic.
Oh no.
That episode is so good.
The supernatural fairy episode. Oh my gosh, I love it.
It's like one of the best episodes ever, especially for the season that it happens in, which is shit. Anyway,
Their wailing can summon the death coach, which is like a coach that comes to take the dead away.
There's a death coach.
was
in
that
Irish
was that
Mythology.
in Darby O'Gill?
I think it was. I remember that.
That right there reached in and tugged a memory from the dark recesses of my brain that could only come from Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
It's like the horse and carriage. It's like a closed carriage.
And there's like a chase, isn't there, with the coach? Am I right? Like some sort of chase scene with it?
I remember. I think in the sequel,
Oh, okay.
I think
Or
it
one of
is
the
the
sequels.
sequel. Yeah, because
This is old stuff.
because they're trying to prevent someone from dying because of I think they made a deal with a leprechaun or something.
in the second one.
Is that? I think so. And so
Are you asking me, Jerry? I don't fucking, dude. I'm like digging up. Like I might find the part where I was molested by my priest digging in memories this deep.
yeah, it's pretty deep.
Like
there.
yeah, like I'm cleaning cobwebs trying to find this shit. Are you kidding?
I remember the banshee like flying through the air. It was like a smoky, scary thing.
Yeah.
In the first one, it's kind of like a stereoscoped, like it's like standing and like floating and coming down and like it's colorful.
That's okay. I love
It's
that.
cool.
I love that kind of shit. Like, man, I rewatched the old 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea recently, and it was
yeah.
it was fucking good. I love
Yeah.
that
Oh,
shit.
that was a good. Oh, whale of a time.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
That's a good book. I don't know if you guys have ever read it.
Yeah, Jules Verne, man. If you're not into the science of it, though,
Oh, you can skip those parts if you want. like
no,
really?
I can't,
Oh, yeah.
dude. If
Oh,
I
yeah,
can
you
slog
really
my
can.
way through Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park, I can.
Oof.
That book was rough.
Yeah, there are parts where he's just describing these fish, and I'm like, I don't know if these fish are real. I think he's making some of these up. in the Jules Verne.
Oh yeah, dude.
See, I read like the abridged version as a child. Like they had abridged versions of like that and like Frankenstein, and I think I had a couple other books like that were just, maybe half an inch thick instead of, the full text, and it was adjusted for children to be able to kind of experience the plot. Yeah.
Get like the Spark Notes version kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that, except just jazzed up a little bit.
Jules Verne for Dummies.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I was at the time, and
I mean,
still am.
that's no. You could read it now, I'm sure. but-
Oof, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I liked Frankenstein too. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did Frankenstein in high school.
Yeah.
It was all right. Dracula was a little rough.
I haven't done that one yet,
Whoa.
and I'm a little worried about it.
Well, that was another one of the abridged books I had. It was yeah.
Dracula was rough.
So Banshees.
Oh yeah,
Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
Yeah.
See what happened? We went cleaning around in cobwebs and we got lost on this entirely separate path because Good
If
Lord.
you're new to the show, welcome. It gets like that sometimes.
It does. I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard not to go down those roads when you're talking about stuff that you watched when you were a
Oh,
child.
yeah.
Mhm.
Rough.
Well, and then so much of like the stuff in our stories and, you know, by extension, our mythologies is just interwoven and still affects our culture today. Like it's in movies and stuff like that. Like this stuff has been around for a long time and it's pretty ingrained and therefore connected to many things.
Yeah. So misconcepted.
Yeah.
So, were you able to find any like specific banshees, like a named banshees, or is it just like a spirit?
I didn't find a named one per se, but I did find a story where a woman had one like outside her window.
Oh.
Of a very high window
Okay.
because they can fly.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the next day she had found out that like one of her relatives had passed away. And she was like a real person and a named person. So she had reported that she had seen a banshee.
Oh, and then they found out that the relative had died.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So that was a more modern.
I wouldn't say modernish.
okay.
It's like long, like she was in like a castle.
Oh,
overlooking
okay,
a lake.
Gotcha.
But like
I see.
it's like a
So medieval.
An actual historical person, though.
Mhm.
Yeah, gotcha. Interesting. I wonder if there have been any modern banshee sighting. I'm sure there.
Oh,
If they, yeah. I'm sure there are people.
Dude,
that
if
are
we're
like,
seeing
oh, yep, that was a
if we're still seeing Bigfoot,
and like a wailing. That's something you hear.
yeah,
You can hear that on a
would
windy
hear
night.
it and just be like, oh shoot.
I'm
And
sure
then-
you can still find modern reports of leopard. Actually, so as late as 19, I remember this story. In 1999, Ireland actually diverted a highway, completely redesigned building a highway to avoid disturbing lands that they believed were occupied by fairies.
That happens in Nordic countries too.
Yeah. So if you're asking if people are still seeing or witnessing banshees and stuff, the belief is definitely prevalent enough for that to definitely
for them to just straight up build around it. Well, that's good. It still happens in Nordic
Mhm.
countries as
Yeah,
well.
because the elves.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've got elves, which are very fey-like creatures. As
So-
well. Yeah.
you bet.
There we go. Wow. That was another topic I was going to look at was fairy forts. And it was that sort of thing. Like you don't build on that. You don't move those. Don't do it. You know, but I didn't. So maybe next year.
Oh, I definitely
Yeah.
I definitely think it's worth covering, and who knows, we might even be able to get to it before next year, depending on what ends up happening.
Yeah.
Never roll shit out around
Give us
here.
a reason to cover more Irish mythology.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's plenty to cover.
Yeah.
Oh
there
my
sure
God!
is.
Hey Jerry,
There's
just
just a
run
list.
down that list.
Yeah,
for
read
fun.
through it real quick.
want
Yeah, let's
why
do
not?
it.
Do it.
Alrighty.
Me.
So you got the leprechaun.
Mm-hmm.
You got the banshee.
Mm-hmm.
Changelings.
Ah.
The Dullahan.
Do it on.
The ghostly horseman that's headless.
Headless
Yep.
horseman.
Yep.
Elves.
Bastards.
Fairies.
Gay.
Yep.
Púca.
Sounds like my mother.
Pixies.
Oh, yep.
Dryads, which are like tree spirits.
Yeah.
Gnomes.
I like gnomes.
Gnomes are scary.
Now, me and Eric talked about this one. The Abartak.
Well, that was a good. Oh, yeah.
It's a dwarven vampire.
Dwarven vampire. He's essentially Dracula the dwarf.
It sounds like type of chip dip.
Yeah. Dark sorcerer sort of dude. The chip dip.
Artichoke?
Arbatar. His name's a mouthful.
Yes.
Arbatar.
That's one of the reasons I didn't end up covering him today. It's like, I don't trust myself on the pronunciation just yet.
You got the brownie.
Yep.
They get
Tasty.
angry if you mistreat pets.
Oh, not so tasty.
Brownies are kind of cool.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be mistreating your pets anyway. So,
No.
you know,
Unless it's a
It's
cat.
justified anger.
not even cats.
The Clerican, which is kind of like a different kind of leprechaun, I think.
Oh,
It's drunken. A drunken leprechaun that's mischievous.
drunken
Also, that's probably like what everybody thinks of with the leprechaun.
Yeah, I wonder
Alright.
if that kind of replaced the shoemaker leprechaun in their conception of him.
I bet leprechauns can get drunk too.
Yeah, they must, right?
They drink cream.
Yeah.
The Fardarug, which is like a solitary red fairy.
Hmm.
It's just kind of like, it's like a gnome with like red. Always wears red.
Just wearing red.
I swear to God, I thought you said furball. I was like, D&D.
There are kobolds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kobolds.
I noticed that in the list.
The Firgorda. It's a spirit of starvation. That one actually looked really cool.
Mm.
See, I wonder if that's in any way like, you know, has overlap with the Wendigo that we might, find.
It shows up as like an emaciated human body.
Yeah, there's a lot.
The Gunkanag.
I love your just confidence with these pronunciations.
I'm guessing.
It's so.
I'm hoping that
it's good,
it's
though.
landing somewhere.
Yeah.
That one seduces women. There's the
Yes.
kobold, which are mind dwellers, and they torment humans, and they're also in D&D.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yes.
Yep.
This one I thought was cool. Mermaids. They have mermaids, but they call them meros.
Meros.
So like Merrows. I like the name.
I like that even better than mermaids, really, because it makes it more of a species thing.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, it's just a bunch of women with fishtails. It's like, no, this is a whole people, and they're called the Meros.
Ariel had the red hair, so do you think she was an Irish mermaid?
Yep. Yep. There we go. She was an Irish mermaid. What do you know?
So wasn't that from
I think it was a Nordic.
Denmark?
Yeah. 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 But as we're finding out, those seem to be closely related, at least in their stories.
Lots of crossover.
Yeah.
The Abkhan, which is a dwarf poet and musician.
Oh, well, I want to meet one of those.
Yeah, they come up short.
Yes.
So fast.
The ALC, people of the mound.
Oh, that was such a good. I think you pronounced that pretty correctly.
hope so.
That's a hard one. I see that one all the time, and I'm just like, I don't know how to say that.
If I didn't, please tell me how to
That
pronounce
one
it.
sounds like it's from Oblivion, the dragon speech.
Oh, yeah.
Or is that Oblivion? Is that the
Skyrim?
one? Skyrim. Yeah, with the dragon
ALC.
speech. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The Bodok, which is a boogeyman.
Ooh, yeah, cool.
Another page.
Yep. Next page.
This one is a little hard to say. The Cleodna.
Nice. That was.
Cleodna.
Is that the queen of the banshees?
It is the Queen of the Banshees.
There we go.
So I actually think that's stupidly easily pronounced as something like Donthana or something.
Is it?
Yeah, it's something like when you hear it pronounced, you're like, well, there's like 5 letters you don't fucking need.
Yep.
It's the Cledna.
You're already making it's real simple. It's too simple. Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah.
I've heard it pronounced like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, why?
For some reason, Gaelic, Welsh, and French just like have so many extra letters in their words, and I don't get it, and I don't approve of it.
It's
Anyway.
like
Yeah. It's like. Anyway.
Then you got the Ellen Treshend, which is a 3-headed beast. It looks kind of like Gamora. Gamora, the one from Godzilla with the 3 heads.
Oh, yeah.
Ghidorah.
Ghidorah, yeah.
Nice.
And-
Cool.
And sprites.
And sprites.
And I'm sure there's plenty more.
Oh yeah, so
Yeah,
that is just
that's
a
not
taste.
Yeah, not a full list. So,
All right, so thanks, Jerry. That was the Banshee.
Yeah.
We're gonna move right along. I did the Morrigan.
yeah.
Now the Morrigan was pretty cool. She was really, as Eric said, he goes, she seems like a tough one to pin down, and he was correct. The Morrigan shares a lot of similarities with the Banshee. A lot of similarities. We'll get to them as we go along.
Okay.
But who is the Morrigan? The Morrigan is one of the Tatha De Danann. I believe by marriage, though. I don't.
Oh, interesting.
I'm unsure as whether she's like from the race of the Tatha De Danann
Right.
or whether because she's married to Dagda.
Right.
She's the wife of the
Okay.
Dagda. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure if she's Tatha De Danann by marriage or by blood. But she is a fae. She is very powerful. She's actually one of the more magically inclined of the fae.
Okay.
Apparently, a lot of the fae like to use their magic in subtle ways. And while she does use her stuff in subtle ways, it's in a lot more of an overarching like vibe.
Okay.
She's a goddess of war, fate, death, and prophecy. So when I say overarching, like she's like, I put a drop of magic here and then it turns into a hurricane over here.
Okay. Butterfly effect sort of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of that.
Okay.
From what I gather, when people prayed to the Morrigan for war, it wasn't the same as like what you would think with like Ares or even Bologna for that matter. The gods of war where you prayed to them for like your skill in battle and your
Yeah.
the physicality to overcome your enemies. It was much more about the actual victory. You prayed to win.
Yeah. The fate of the battle or
Yes.
of the war.
The outcome.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So a lot of it was seen as kind of self-sacrificing in a way. It's like just because you're praying for the battle to win doesn't mean that you're going to survive it. The Morrigan was a harbinger of death as well. She was seen often washing the clothes or armor of somebody who would die that day of battle. Or if it was nobody's discernible clothing, it was seen as an omen for the side to lose.
Wow. So, okay, there we have that kind of predictive, the portent. Yeah.
Yes. She was also seen as a guardian for whatever family she was. Okay. So to go into her as a god of war, we're gonna have to kind of get into a little bit of differences between the definition of war when we're dealing with like the Irish and the kind of Celtic people and what was kind of going on in the rest of the world, as I understand it.
Okay.
War in Ireland and probably I'm extrapolating onto Scotland a little bit, but I'm imagining it's probably not a whole lot different. Wars were not fought with like giant armies. They were largely fought with small, like 15 or 20 men, I think. Oh. And they were fought over cattle. And the idea of the battle wasn't kill as many of the men as you could. It was steal as many of the cattle as you could while fending off the men trying to stop you from stealing the cattle.
Okay.
This was a regular occurrence and was often seen as a legitimate way of economic upheaval.
Okay.
Like,
wow.
It was seen as a legitimate strategy. It's like, I want to take this family's place in the economic ladder, so I'm going to rally men to go do this thing, and if we win, then we take their spot because we now have their resources.
Holy cow. Okay.
So,
holy cow. I didn't even need to do that.
That's Hindu. So with her being a goddess of war and fate, there also seems to be an idea of territoriality to it. Where she was also about protecting your area.
Right. And therefore your resources, like your cattle.
Right.
Yeah. Always protect your area.
Yeah. Always protect your area.
Especially if you're a miner. But
from the kobolds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's deep.
Because it's a mine. I think we killed Ben.
He got shafted. So I got fired from the podcast.
Yeah. I hope you all enjoyed Jerry's last episode.
Yeah. Please, send him your love in the comments.
But anyway, so with this idea of territoriality, there almost seems to be kind of an idea of like you could get this scenario where two families would be appealing to the Morrigan at the same time. And both of them would be willing to just kind of toss it to fate in their worship because they both would realize that the other side was praying to her and that both sides were legitimate, which is a weird dichotomy that you get when you have a war and a fate goddess wrapped up into one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Because usually it's like, my god's the right one, but we're both praying to that god, so we'll just.
And this god allows for inner toil and strife, which a lot of pantheonic gods don't.
Right.
Because it's, counterintuitive to society and productive for the religion as a whole.
Yeah.
This doesn't seem to be a problem here. So I found that to be extremely interesting.
Yeah, that is. That's a whole cultural way of doing war too that I've not really. It hasn't hit my radar a lot, I don't see, but I kind of like that you're fighting more over the resources than you are about just making sure the other side dies a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was known for, she was a shapeshifter and she could take theoretically any shape that she wanted. She was more specifically known for adopting the eel, the cow, the crow, and the wolf specifically.
Ooh. Okay.
The crow being the most tied to her specifically.
Right.
She was known, it was said that she would adopt the guise of a crow to fly over the battlefield, and she would call out as she was flying over the battlefield, and depending on which side she was on, hearing her cry would either give you a rally of strength or a crippling fear.
Oh.
So once again, we have this goddess of death flying over the battlefield, and her cry is eliciting an effect. There's another tie to the Banshee.
Yeah, honestly. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Portends death.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat. And it kind of, she's a neat way of overlapping Jerry and I's topics because mine's a shapeshifter.
Right.
So we've kind of, that's a cool look at us. We did a cool thing.
Full fairy circle.
Yeah.
It's a complete circle jerk. You heard it there first. But an interesting practice that I found was that after the battlefield, they would leave. Both sides would leave the battlefield untouched for the first half hour because they would allot that to be the Morrigan's time for her to wander the battlefield and collect her trophies, whether they were they were often accepted to be heads or coins or whatever, and these were referred to as the Morrigan's acorns.
The Morrigan's acorns?
Oh, that's cool.
Oh.
She's a squirrel.
I almost didn't want to say that. It felt like I don't want to insult you, Lady Morrigan, but
I didn't want to either, but I had to.
You did, just collecting her acorns.
Because she is also a goddess of prophecy, everything she does has a much wider purpose. So she's not about conflict and bloodshed for the sake of it. It's always about some sort of lasting positive, as in the moving forward sense, not, positive depends on where you're standing and looking at the change.
Right.
But it's always some forward moving, long-term change that she's trying to at least affect.
Okay.
So it's for like the future of that area rather than the people involved.
I see.
Right. So like she might have, it might be something where she gets like a family killed, but it benefits the larger family in that territory in some way. Even though they're devout worshipers of hers. It's like, well, that's a sacrifice that you're making.
Because she's playing a long game.
The long game.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. Oh, that's really cool.
There's
Very Gandalf of her. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
There's a lot of confusion with the Morrigan about exactly how many there are. There is 3 and 1. There is the Morrigan, capital the, which is the entity, and then she has 2 sisters, which are also called Morrigan. So they're like, it's like their title and also their race.
Oh.
So like the way, like the best way that I can conceive it with my background, of course, being Christian and, Western, is there is, Jesus is referred to as the Nazarene.
Yeah, Nazarene.
He's referred to as the Nazarene, but there's also other people that are, he's a Nazarene and he's a Nazarene. So it's kind of that situation.
Yeah.
She seems to be, I found some accounts where her name, so the names of her sisters are Bab and Mach.
Ooh.
And
so pretty.
And it seems like the Morrigan's name might have been Alanda or something like that.
That one actually is pretty.
Yeah.
But when she took kind of control of the 3 sisters, now they're all established characters and they all have their own motivations and things, but she does seem to be the most powerful and the most direct. So it seems like whenever she became the most powerful or the head of the 3, she kind of took the title of the Morrigan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why there seems to be some confusion there.
And there is. From the many times I've tried looking into the Morrigan, there is.
But yeah,
confusion.
so it seems like there's this layer. So the Wiccans have really fucked this character up. have fucked this person up, it seems like. They attach a lot of shit like fertility, rebirth, which that doesn't seem to be anywhere in the old stuff. The 3 aspect goddess.
Yeah, yep, the triple goddess of the Wiccan religion. Yeah.
Yeah,
yep.
That all seems to be complete bullshit. It
As
seems
far
like
as Morrigan is concerned. Sorry.
Right. It seems like the further back you go in the stories, the more defined the 3 sisters become, not less.
Okay, right.
So I think they were talking out of their cooter on that one because there's no such thing as male Wiccans.
Or drawing from somewhere else and then trying to fit the Morrigan into it.
Yeah,
to
to
me,
me,
they're trying to overlap it with like the Nornir from Norse mythology.
Yeah,
the Fates,
there does.
Greek.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. There does seem to be, to me, a lot of trying to. First of all, I think people are uncomfortable worshiping the Morrigan as a practice because she's a goddess of war, where these other ones aren't. So I think what they're trying to do is circumvent that war aspect. Like, oh, she's actually like more like this goddess, and she's tied to this stuff. It's like that's not the way this rolls. So pick something else. Or get on board. I think war gets I think wars gets a bad rap.
We will allow you to elaborate.
Kratos.
Like, violence is just a thing. It's not a positive or a negative. in and of itself. It is merely a tool, and war is the same. I don't think anybody would say that us getting involved in World War II was a bad thing. So that's positive war, yes?
Yeah.
You have to have the ability to defend yourself on a large scale. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I will fully admit that in modern times, although I'm sure that in older times, actually wars are getting less, not more, despite what we like to think about it.
Yeah.
That we have done it for lesser reasons than survival as what it used to be. But worshiping a god of war, as long as you're able to maintain the perspective of violence for defense only, or at least in a measured way, there's nothing inherently negative there.
Like it's a natural part of things, like, because nobody goes to war thinking like, I'm just doing this for the fuck of it. It's always, there's
a few, but they're by and large
overall though.
Yeah, you're gonna have psychopaths.
Yeah, they do believe that for some reason their country or their nation or their clan or whatever has a need that can only be met by that. You know what? I don't know. I don't want to get too far into that kind of philosophy without
I'll throw
more
this out
preparing
there.
myself for
I'll be willing to say this. I'll throw this out there. I bet if you were to go back in time and talk to the Native Americans, I bet they'd say right now that they had wished they'd been a little bit more pro-war in their stance.
You know, I think that's a fair speculation to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't like, we have this like noble savage thing that we really like where they're like, oh, they were peace-loving, tree-hugging hippies. It's like, no. But they definitely approach things a little bit softer than they probably should have. So, you know, pacifism's for morons. Pacifism's for somebody that's okay being killed. Like, pacifism will lead to you being killed. That's it. There's no other alternative in that. You have to be able to defend yourself. So the notion that you're going to weed out the war from the god is simply because it makes you uncomfortable is ridiculous.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think that is kind of just what it comes down to is like just the reality of the life that we're in is war happens. You need a god for that. You know what I mean?
And
like,
you have to keep perspective of what they were dealing with. Like it was incredibly necessary for their lifetime.
Right.
Yeah. Like they needed the ability to take shit by force, or they'd starve to death.
Well, yeah,
or be raided, or
yeah. Because at the end of the day, as long as there's a limit to resource, you will need war.
Yes, you're gonna have to fight for it.
Yeah, because there's only so much.
This whole like, oh, people will share is nonsense. We have to teach kids to share. It's not in the inherent human nature to share.
Well, I don't know about that necessarily.
Oh, bullshit. When was the last time you saw a kindergartner just giving out their toys?
You know what? Sometimes, like, we're social creatures. It's not that we have an aversion to sharing entirely. It's just, like, that came from somewhere, too. But it's also, like, I want to share with mine.
Mine. See, there. You couldn't even say it without using the word mine.
Listen, I was not prepared for this kind of a conversation on the air, all right? I'm ready to talk about shape-shifting horsies.
I've stood on my soapbox long enough. No, the Morrigan has been involved in all kinds of stories throughout Celtic lore. Cuchulainn, obviously being the most famous account. She is the one that is responsible for his death.
Yep.
She tried to seduce him for one reason or another. He turned her down. It pissed her off. She tried to kill him. It didn't work. And then so I found some conflicts on this. So 3 women fed him the flesh of dogs, which made him weak and led to his death.
Oh, right. The taboo thing. Yeah. Neat.
Now, was it the Morrigan, as in the 3 sisters got together and like, oh, you scorned our sister, and so we're going to do this? Or whether the Morrigan, as in capital, the Morrigan, set it up and caused it to happen?
It kind of made it 3 women as like a clue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not clear on that. I looked up the resources to get clear on that, and the person that was put forthing the resources described it as thus. This is a year's worth of research.
Whoa.
So, no. I ain't got time for that. Bailey needs to make more money before I can do shit like that. That's a lot of work.
Please like, share, subscribe.
Right?
Support the channel. We'll be able to go deeper on shit like
if you want me to do a year's worth of research on one character, I need money.
We're gonna need to make some money.
That was a lot.
Please fund the research.
Yeah, it's
But
not
also, not only did she cause his death, but I believe she was the crow that went and landed on his body to show them that he was dead.
Oh,
So even after that, she's like, he's dead, you idiots! Get in there! And then they just wouldn't until she had to literally land on him, like peck his head, like pull his eye out, and be like, see, look, he's dead.
I swear. Come on. They're like,
He still
God.
looks a little twitchy.
Which,
But
man, just goes to show how feared he was by that point.
yeah,
Good Lord.
I'm definitely gonna revisit Cuchulainn. Don't worry. Doing the research for the Morrigan, I found out some cool shit about his last stand, which made me want to revisit him. Again,
Oh,
so.
cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that was the Morrigan. Eric, you're up
Okay.
next, pal. What you got?
Okay, I've got the
You said something about My Little Pony?
Yeah,
Ooh.
it's the púca.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the púca, also spelled púca or púca or púca. There's like a million spellings of this thing, and I've just done that to myself in the edit for the
Oh
YouTube
yeah. I was
version.
just. I hope you
Yep.
enjoy that.
Yep. Shit. Anyway, so the púca is it's a fey spirit, a fairy. It's a very trickstery, mischievous creature. Seems to be I don't think it's just like one púca. I think it seems to be
A species.
many. Yeah, a species of fey. Again, very trickstery and shapeshiftery, which is a thing when it comes to like tricksters in mythology. They are almost always shapeshifters. I've noticed. I haven't looked at everything, of course, but like it seems to be the case.
Well, so to me, it seems like that's because they're nature spirits, just overall, and
Right.
being tied to nature in that way gives them the ability to just kind of adapt all the different forms of nature.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of, we'll go through real quick with a list of forms that they tend to take. They can appear probably most famously as a horse. They usually, in general, have black fur or something like that, or sometimes pale fur. And just in case that wasn't seamless, there was some fairy fuckery that happened. So
No doubt.
I'll
That was
continue.
fucking wild.
I'll continue down the list. They appear as a horse, a goat, a cat, a dog, a hare, a raven, sometimes a fox, a wolf, or a goblin.
Subtle.
Yeah. And then they can also appear as a human, often described as an old man, but I don't think always. Although in their human shape, they also tend to have some sort of weird like animal feature, like in their ears or their tail. And they are also
Can't hide the horse dick.
yeah. They are also often described as having golden eyes or red eyes. So pretty interesting stuff there. Huh?
Why do you think it is that it's always red eyes?
I don't know. They do tend
Every
to
time there's something, even in
yeah.
modern day, like when you hear reports of like the dog man or whatever, it's like
got
red eyes.
Yeah,
It's an unnatural eye color. So
that's
it's
true.
Well,
kinda like
no,
access to
owl's eye shine is very red.
Dude,
Yeah.
really? Yeah. Huh. I guess that's a good point. I'm trying to think of like cats have like a almost greenish reflection to it
Yeah.
usually.
I just wonder what is it about the red
Yeah.
that's just
Oh, they're using an old 35 millimeter camera. It's got like the red dye. There's no digital fix for that.
Oh. Huh.
don't shut up, don't you go like that makes some kind of fucking sense.
Oh man. But it is kind of like you remember when you would take pictures on film and there would be red?
Yeah, but we're talking like
I
these
thought he
repo-
was being serious. I thought he
these reports are from like hundreds of years before that.
I mean that's a good point.
Bigfoot's just blurry. Yeah.
It's just blurry. Bigfoot is just blurry. He walks around blurry.
Mm.
So those are some of the telltale signs when you're trying to spot a púca. Although, to be honest with you, one of the biggest differences in my opinion, and some article I read pointed this out, so it's out there. It's not an original thought, but they, where most fairies will kind of avoid telling you their name or identifying themselves, the púca will just straight up tell you, "Oh yeah, no, I'm a púca. Here we go."
Hi, my name's Matt. I'm here to fuck with you.
And fuck with you, they do. They are often associated with, they can be good fortune. Oftentimes they are not as well. It's kind of a 50-50. They've been described as like one of the most feared like creatures in Ireland, but that doesn't strike me as
The case.
true. Yeah. Because okay, there was some mention of like púcas will either eat people or drink their blood, but like I have always found that as just like a sentence describing it. Like none of the stories that I came across said anything like that. Like they
Can't really find where that's coming from.
I'm not finding where that's coming from.
I mean, if they're
source.
tricksters, wouldn't it make sense that they would make somebody see that? Like,
yeah,
look,
like
right,
make
this
you
is what I'm
think-
going to do to you.
See, that
Ooh.
seems more likely that it's púca fuckery getting you to think that way. Because
You've been pooked.
yeah, most of the accounts seem to be relatively harmless at the end of the day. You've been púca'd.
You idiot.
Púca this. So let's see. Along with their many shapes, they also come with their variations depending on the region that they're in. So like you'll have some regions of and you can find some. I didn't take them down in my notes because I'm not as bold with my pronunciations.
Yeah,
as Jerry
Eric was
is.
telling me about it. He's like, I'm not writing all this down.
I'm not. Yeah, there's some easy ones and there's some not so easy ones out there. So I'll just name some examples that I found, and you can tell me where they're from. But there's one area where if you gather on a certain hill, I think it's on a certain night, a horse will come to you that you can consult with, and it'll talk back to you because a púca can always speak to you, no matter what form it's in. So they will consult with it because púcas will often in these stories tell you, like they're a bit prophetic. They'll tell you some things that may happen to you, or especially like when it comes to your finances, your family fortune, and stuff like that.
Does anybody else know any other lore about talking horses? For some reason, the idea of a talking horse, besides Mr. Ed, is striking like
It rings a bell for you.
a lore chord in me that I just can't.
I'm not quite.
Can kelpies talk?
No, but they are often kind of construed with púcas, although kelpies will just they'll get you to ride them and they'll dive into a body of water and drown you and eat you.
Pegasus couldn't talk.
No, he couldn't.
I don't know why the talking horse is ringing such a bell for me.
Don't think unicorns can talk.
Anyway, moving on.
Typically, but we'll find that. 'cause
Well,
you're right,
eventually.
it's scratching
Or
an
let me
itch.
know if you guys know.
Yeah, where are we getting that from?
Sleipnir couldn't talk.
He's going through the library in his brain right
I
now.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why that idea is ringing such a chord with me, but
Oh, I'm
it is.
sure there's something there.
There
Absolutely.
must be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did that cobweb cleaning out with
Yeah.
Jerry has knocked all kinds of shit
Lord,
loose. Who knows what the hell's falling
Moths
out?
flapping about.
So
Probably like a badger or some shit.
So yeah, so that's one region. They'll consult with the púca on a hilltop, and it comes to them in the shape of a horse. In other regions, it takes the shape of like an ugly, like little dwarf goblin-y creature that demands a share of your crop. There was another one where it's an eagle, but it has a massive wingspan, stuff like that. So it's pretty neat. And there's other variations from there.
Weird.
Yeah.
Like, what would be? I wonder what your impetus would be to give it half your grain. It's like shows up as a goblin. It's like,
Well,
get lost.
Not necessarily half. Although that's a great question. That kind of does lead me into a bit of like they're tied to agriculture and farming. On November 1st, it's called Púca Day. And it's a day where you can, again, consult with the púcas. That's something that kind of comes up again and again. But something that they do when it comes to crops and fruit and stuff is if you're not on their good side, they can poison crops by either spitting on them or defecating on them. Yep.
Little bastards.
Yep.
That'd be towards the end of harvest. So
Yeah.
you'd maybe storing stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Winter.
So, and then you leave the púca share, out on the field, like you leave them some stocks. Otherwise,
Just like
got
you
on their
did with the
bad side.
Morgan on the battlefield.
Yes, exactly. That was something that rang. I almost interrupted your portion there to just shout that out. Like, there's another one.
Yeah, there's a lot of give and take with these,
There really is. There's
which
an
I like.
exchange.
I like the idea of the exchange.
Yeah, me too. That kind of like this for that kind of
Yeah.
bargaining. Also, like when the first frost of the year kills like the berries and stuff like that, that's the púca spitting on them, and you're not supposed to eat those because then they're corrupted now by they've become toxic because the púca spit on it or pooped on it. I like the spit one better because it's just a little less gross.
Yeah, but I wonder if the practical, like, behind the curtain aspect of that is you don't eat those ones because they die and
Yeah.
then they fall off and the seeds replant. And if you eat those, there won't be any.
A new harvest next year,
Yeah.
and that's the practical application to the story. That's
It's like a practical propagation
See,
situation.
looking
Yeah.
into Sir Nuno's has done that to me because
Mhm.
almost his entire legend is all practical.
yeah. He's a fun god that we will have to get into. The horned god.
Oh yeah.
We'll have to get into.
Oh yeah.
He's
Try,
got some interesting stuff.
I just played my hand right there. I told him I've been
Yeah.
looking into him. So
Yeah,
I'll
yep.
definitely be
There you go.
covering him at some point.
So they do. So there's the kind of agricultural aspect of the púca, which personally I didn't find anything to necessarily support this or refute it, but I think that's probably one of the older aspects of the púca, as far as like, you know, because that's something that is often in mythology, is like once you're a farming culture, you tend to pay attention to gods or spirits that have to do with that.
I mean, even Thor was a god of farmer and agriculture.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
he was a battle god.
Fertility
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's more like a god of the common man and building and
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I suspect that's probably one of the older aspects of the púca. Again, that's the agricultural aspect to him, but it's not the only one. One of my favorite aspects of him, and one that seems to be the more famous, like if you know what a púca is, you know this part of it, and that's the wild ride that you can go on sometimes. They will appear to people who have gotten drunk in a bar and are trying to make their way home. They will appear to those people as a horse and entice them to, you know, hop on, I'll give you a ride home. But instead,
How does a horse entice you? I wonder.
well, it speaks to you. It's like, I'm a púca. Come on.
Yeah, but when you be like fucking talking horse, no.
your Uber is here.
Yeah. Your Uber is here. Exactly. So you hop on to the púca in the shape of a horse, and he just goes on this terrifying ride. Like, it reminds me of a roller coaster, like death-defying leaps over, like, you know, ravines and rocks and through brambles and across the forest and smashing you through fences or people's cornfields and stuff. And you just have to hang on for dear life until morning, when, you know, he drops you off wherever and you have to find your way back home. The wild ride of the púca. There you go. I feel like that's Ben had some speculations on where those stories came from that I thought were kind of funny.
Yeah, Eric was kind of filming me, and I said, you know, that developed just from like one drunk Irish guy that's like, is that my horse? That's my horse. And he gets on and he's like, not your horse. And that horse is just like, fuck! He just takes off running.
That was a zebra.
So that's something the púca will do. Another thing, it's less fun than the wild ride, but they'll come to you, like if you're sitting at your house, like they'll come up to you and ask you if you're new around there, and you know, then they'll say, "Oh, I used to live here a long time ago," and then they'll start telling you like your family history in the area, and then they'll start forecasting some things that are going to happen in the future of your family and stuff like that. And, you know, they never say goodbye. Ever. They fucking ghost you. They give you the Irish goodbye.
Oh.
They're just gone. When they're done talking to you, they're gone. There's something else there. So, but again, this consulting thing, it's almost like the oracles from like Greek mythology, like that sort of thing. Like, no, tell me the future. Like everyone wants to know the future in all these different mythologies and stuff.
Yeah, but how do you know they're even telling the truth? They could just be completely full of shit.
And that is kind of the thing. These mischievous, you know, guys, they might not be telling the truth. I don't know.
Don't do prophecies, kids. That's all that.
Yeah. You tend to either make them come true because you know the prophecy, or it's just something that, yeah.
I thought about that with the Morrigan. Like if you saw it like washing general clothes, that would be like your morale would be hit, and then you would lose the battle because of that.
Oh, you're right.
Not because of the Morrigan,
but from just as a result of knowing
kind of
the sign.
So maybe, you know, with the idea of like fate and destiny being weaved in there, you could take that as a sign. Like if you're one of those people that really like, you're like, you know, death in battle is honorable and it's the way I'm going to go eventually, you could take that as a sign that she's on your side because she's washing the blood off your clothes. So could, you know, you could take that as like, well, okay, if it costs me, it costs me, but we're going to win.
Yeah. There you go. That's a positive way of looking at it.
Yeah. It just depends on what the mindset is, I suppose.
Yeah.
That the fate and prophecy bit with her really kind of throws a monkey wrench into the points of view.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize that fairies were so tied to fortune telling, if that makes sense. Like, I think all three of ours today, just by accident, predict the future in some way. The Banshee with death, the Morrigan with fate and war. And
see, that's why I'm wondering if some of that's bullshit. If they've just all are like, hey, you know, these people really think that we can tell the truth. Tell the future. If we all just start telling them shit, they don't know.
They don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Because the púca tends to, why would a púca be interested in finances? But that seems to be what it tends to predict. It's like, it kind of forecasts what, the year's going to be, or like foretells like the fall of a family fortune or something like that. And that's what it's interested in talking about.
I mean, if I had, I guess maybe if I had to just throw something out there to try to make it make sense, is maybe because, it comes up and it asks for like half of your grain or a share of the grain, or maybe your fortune is tied directly to how much grain and stuff you're going to be able to have and give it. And so that affects its food source.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just trying to make it make sense.
Just like it has a vested interest in you succeeding.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's trying to, you're right. Yeah,
or
more success
conversely failing if you're not giving portion to it.
Yeah.
Or if it could get more from someone else succeeding where you fail.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There we go.
So you got to reach for it.
Yeah.
It's there.
Playing the long game.
Yeah. Playing the long game.
Again.
Yeah. Once again. I'm not going to go too much further. There's some cool stories out there. There's some interesting ones. There's one that actually reminded me of the guy who makes shoes and was visited at night by elves. There's a púca version of that story out there that I thought was kind of neat.
Weird.
And, yeah. And again, it kind of ends the same way. You give the helper being some clothes, and then it stops helping.
Service some cobbler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck Dobby. He got what he got.
Oh, I thought no, that's mean.
I hate that fucking character. That is
Um,
a good shot, Beatrix. Right through the portal.
One more interesting thing about the púca that I'll say here is and it's kind of funny to me because this apparently happens all the time in Ireland. I don't know if it's true or not, but if it rains on a sunny day, that means that the púca are going to be out that night. And apparently that happens a lot in Ireland. So I'd be like, well, shit.
That's also how you get the rainbow.
Oh, it is how they get the... You're right.
So if it's raining during the day, all the fae are out that night.
Yeah, it's a party. You got the leprechauns. You got the púca.
I bet there's more.
I'll bet there is.
I bet there's more.
Oh, fae party. Cool. So there you have it. There's the púca. In a nutshell, they're definitely worth looking into for more fun stories. Like starting out, before I started looking into them, I just thought they turn into a horse and back, I thought that was all there was to them, but they almost seem like regional, I don't know, regional spirits, like that kind of genius loci thing that we've mentioned before, where it's like it's the spirit of a place.
Well, that's another thing that I'm noticing in this kind of Celtic mythology is a lot of it is tied to location.
Yes, very much.
The Morrigan is tied to location.
Yeah, and the púca, they're like I didn't go into that with my story, but like they are very specifically named places where you'll see these like that one story with they're helping the servants out. That's a specific place and yada yada. So it is very location based. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's actually why I skipped some of the other fairies that I had listed because they were listed more in England, like in Cornwall and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to do a little more Irish.
Yeah.
They're still Celtic. They're just
right, but they're a little
Right.
bit less of the stereotypical.
Yeah. And púca branch out too beyond just the Irish too. There was Cornish and the English Channel, and even there were at least comparisons in the name to something in Scandinavian or Norse in general. Something like that. I think it was more of a spook. Like, I wonder if the word púca and the word spooky are related. That's kind of when I did look at like the etymology of it. That was the impression I kind of saw in there. Yeah.
That would make sense. I can see that.
Yeah. Because there was a púca in a story that said it was a person once. And I wonder that too, like when they introduced like themselves as like, oh yeah, I used to live here. It's like, were you a living person that used to live there and then died and became a púca? Is that what we're saying? I don't know. Yeah. So again, ghosts and fairies just have some weird overlap that you just never would have thought about.
That's
before.
cool.
Yeah.
I like it though. It's neat.
Yeah. So there we have it.
All right. Well, I think that does it for this episode of Cult of Lore,
All right.
the St. Patrick's Day episode, part 2.
Part 2. Yes, you can catch the first one. We'll link it. It's there. Maybe the algorithm will bring it up for you. It's like, St. Patty's Day. Here's another Irish mythology.
Maybe you'll get lucky.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, we forgot to. We like to try to do these. Give them a song and a movie.
Oh, yes.
So for the movie, we'll go ahead and do Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
Free on YouTube.
Free on YouTube.
Free on YouTube. The link will be there. Why not?
Also free on YouTube. You'll find the links to both of these in the description. For a good episode of Keening, we'll go with Colm R. McGinnis.
Ooh.
You know him. He's the Irish singer.
Yes.
He's a big bass singer. But for this one, we're going to pick
beautiful.
Foggy Dew.
Foggy Dew?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
It's like an Irish battle song, but he dips into what I believe is Keening in it.
Okay.
With his
That's a
pitch
good way
and
of
tone
putting it.
that he goes into. And
Yeah.
he's an Irish lad singing an Irish song. So I think it's a good example of that.
Oh, and he's so good. You
is
can't
good.
miss out on this. Please do check him out for sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Wrap up stuff time.
it is. This is the part
Yeah.
where everybody drops off like a cliff.
Yeah, you know,
Bye.
as you do. So, yep, preemptive bye. And for those of you that are still here, the real ones, here's to you. Drink yourself a green beer. You earned it. So, some other shows that you could, if you're new here, like we're typically covering Warhammer 40K, but we also clearly do other things such as Irish mythology. We've also done stuff around Christmas. Coming soon, will
American
be
Tall Tales.
an
we
American
got.
Tall Tales. Yes, that's a really good. That was such a fun episode. And coming up here soon, we're going to be doing something for the spring goddesses. We're going to cover that.
The goddesses of
Yep.
Easter or spring.
Yep. So look forward to that and give us suggestions. We love branching out past 40K, even though we fucking love 40K.
Yeah.
So-
We're going to try to do some more book reviews.
Yes.
So look forward to that coming up.
Yep. I've
Hey.
already started reading one for that.
Yeah. And guys, let Jerry and Eric know that you want us to cover the book Blood Meridian.
You don't have to now. No.
Yeah. We're going to cover it eventually. But, the more the demand,
The
got an
sooner
in-
we do it.
that's got an interesting mythology just in and of itself.
Yeah, no, and it does sound like there's a lot of interesting things to discuss in it, if not a little disturbing. But yeah, so there you go. You can support Ben in his endeavor to get us disturbed.
We'll make that a Halloween episode.
Ooh.
If we order it on Amazon, it'll be a Prime Meridian.
Some other shows that you can find before Ben kills Jerry. Some other shows you can catch on Cult Talk Net is Cult Talk's Conspiracy, where Ty and Bailey talk about many, many interesting conspiracy theories, and they go deep into those and discuss them and stuff like that, and they have a lot of fun. We also cover Bruce Campbell movies over on Cult of Campbell, where we rate the movies groovy, not groovy, after a long and we swear on topic conversation.
God, that scale gives me the shits. Groovy, not groovy. Fuck.
Yeah, good or bad, basically.
Ugh.
And it's Bruce Campbell's performance, not the
It's
movie.
not the movie.
There-
That's the part that gives me the shits.
There have been some bad movies that have been rated groovy because of Bruce.
I don't approve.
We're also slowly building steam with Cult of Russell. Please let us know that you want to
Harass
see that.
any
show
show that has Ty in it.
Yep. Any show with
Just
Ty.
bombard him with Cult of Russell
Yep.
stuff.
Yep. Do it. Show him the
So
demand.
that we can do it.
Yep. And we'll review Kurt Russell movies.
I've been dying to show Bailey Escape from New York for like 4 or 5 months now, and I've just been sitting on because like, we're gonna cover it. Like, we are.
So there's that. American Pie Slices is a short series by Ty and our editor Michael, where they spend 6 episodes talking about one movie, American Pie. And it was a heck of a lot of fun. And they had some good drink recommendations too, if you like appley stuff. Am I missing anything? No, I don't think so.
I don't
like,
think so.
share, subscribe, comment for the algorithm. Comment to us what your favorite fairy is and what you want us to cover next year for Irish mythology. Or comment an excuse for us to cover Irish mythology sooner than next year.
Let us know what new holidays you'd like us to cover, or what other mythologies you'd like us to cover, or what 40K topics you'd like us to cover.
Yeah, we had a pretty good. Someone commented on our last episode asking about Rogel Dorn, so we'll take that. I didn't comment back yet, but I will by the time this comes out.
Nice.
So
Okay.
we'll let you know. We'll let you know that I said thank you for the suggestion, and it's under consideration now. Because
I had not seen that comment. I'll get to it.
It's a new one. It's a new one as of the time of recording, anyway.
Right on.
So.
Post haste. I will be there. Post haste.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
I think that's it. That works for me. All right.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us on another episode of Call Lore. Until next time, I'm Ben.
I'm Eric. And you heard it straight from the horse's mouth.